This has not been a good year. I know I'm not saying anything that most of us don't already know, but it's just astounding how god-awful this year has been. The energy crisis in the UK has caused my own bills to more than double, whilst wages, including my own, stagnated. And the result is that I've spent barely anything on games this year and made very few videos out of the impending fear that my bills will skyrocket again. A lot of big releases were front-loaded at the start of the year, back before the bills went to hell in a handbasket, but the honest truth is that Game Pass has been an absolute godsend. Anyway, before I jump into this, I need to preface this list by saying that neither Elden Ring nor God of War Ragnarok are on this list. I don't think either of them are bad games. I platinumed Elden Ring, then uninstalled it and haven't played it since. And I didn't finish Ragnarok because I just haven't been in the mood to play it. I'll get around to it at some point. If you want my opinion on Elden Ring, it's perfectly fine, but nothing that I haven't played before from FromSoft themselves, and it irritated me far more than anything else this year. Don't worry, it's number one on plenty of other people's lists, so I'm sure it'll manage not being on mine at all. So here are my top 5 games for this year. It was a struggle, I won't lie. We'll start with something that seems to have been largely forgotten. Many people found this one to be a little bland, that it didn't do much to stand out from the crowd, and so on and so forth. But for me personally, the fact that this was made by the same developers responsible for The Evil Within was enough to pique my curiosity. The beautiful recreation of Tokyo, the dedication to the unique style, and its fascinating, if occasionally janky combat absolutely grabbed me. Exploring the city and seeing its many colourful denizens, from floating cats to faceless suits, scissor-wielding ladies, and the rainy procession that parades through the streets was wonderful to behold. I loved exploring the map and uncovering its secrets, and its soundtrack in particular stands out with its exquisite blend of electronic orchestral and traditional Japanese instrumentation. With a surprisingly touching ending and the wherewithal to not outstay its welcome, Ghostwire Tokyo remains one of the most interesting releases of the year, and I look forward to Tango's next adventure. I'm not gonna lie, when I first started playing this game I really didn't enjoy it very much, and I honestly couldn't tell you why at this point. Once I'd finished it, I felt like a bit of a tit for being so harsh on it. This is a survival horror game in the purest sense, limited resources, unique and difficult puzzles, and an unending sense of utter impending doom that permeates every room. Creeping around the dilapidated facility, peering around its isometric corners and panic shooting anything that moved, this was a seriously impressive outing from developers Rose Engine. What struck me most was its excellent combination of sci-fi, horror and cyberpunk aesthetics, the rich background lore that rewarded exploration, the oppressive atmosphere, and the outstanding dedication to its look and feel, with a fair few twists and turns along the way. It's best to go into Signalis knowing as little as possible, and plenty of other people have gone into depth as to why this game is so great. Its presentation alone is worth every ounce of praise, and it's the only game this year that forced me to draw a map, so... Thank God for Game Pass. I'm the kind of person who gets pretty wary of things that people have repeatedly told me are amazing, to the extent that I'll deliberately avoid things out of concern that they couldn't possibly reach the high standards everyone else has set for me. What can I say? I'm a cynic. So I avoided buying Tunic when it first came out on Steam, but eventually gave it a shot when it popped up on Game Pass. Am I glad I did? Absolutely. Tunic is an extraordinary game, and the experience of discovering its world and secrets was truly unique. It has an adorable main character, brilliant puzzles, and some truly excellent mechanics. Much of what makes Tunic special is its world and your growing knowledge of it, which I won't go into because it's honestly best explored for yourself. That being said, my experience was a little soured by a late game area that strips you of all your equipment and upgrades and throws you into a difficult place as a puny weakling, ending in what essentially amounts to a gauntlet run instead of an actual boss. I hate both of these things in any game, and I hated it here. It feels like a cheap way to massively increase the difficulty without any effort. Tunic is still an excellent game, but this section almost ruined it for me, so if that's something that bothers you, just be aware. You'll know it when it happens. Also, you can still earn achievements whilst using the accessibility god mode, just saying. I know a few people are going to have a knee-jerk reaction to seeing the funny meme cat game on this list, but I enjoyed the absolute hell out of Stray and it deserves the accolades it received. Stray is a game about a cat, sure, but look past the surface and you'll find a genuinely touching experience of a unique friendship, a crumbling world, and the persistence of family and individuality against all odds. The game is fairly short if you don't bother trying to explore, but take the time to properly poke around and you'll be rewarded with stories of a time gone by, fears of the encroaching infection, and the desperation of folks clinging to a failing way of life. Stray is beautifully animated, fun and touching, and at times a little heart-wrenching, but dig a little deeper and you'll realise there's also a sinister core festering within the walls. The journey of the cat and his robot companion has stuck with me in the 6 months since release, and while I appreciate that it's easy to disregard it as a mechanically simple, basic platformer, the heart of Stray lies in its characters, its aesthetic, and its adventure. Like Journey before it, the grand scope and scale of a haunted, abandoned world complements the venture you undertake. It's a beautiful game, and I'm glad it surpassed the expectation of lolcat game. Before I talk about my favourite game of the year, I do just want to put a few other games out there for being a bit of a letdown. Bayonetta 3 has one of the worst endings I've ever seen in any video game and is an absolute insult to the character no matter what excuses Kamiya makes. Also, Somerville had the most appalling performance of the entire year, if not the decade, including Pokemon, and there was one particular sequence where I honestly thought the game would explode as the particle effects grew so intense that the frame rate was literally a slideshow. I'm not usually a snob about performance, but Somerville's was so bad it ruined what could have been an otherwise fun and interesting game. Considering I already discounted Elden Ring and Ragnarok, it's probably not a surprise what game I enjoyed the most this year. In all honesty, after the last few years have been a bit shit for various reasons, personal and otherwise, I needed something that was basically comfort food the video game. A beautiful world that was fun to explore, rewarding details tucked away in all corners of the environment, wonderful characters fully realised and a joy to talk to. Everything that could possibly be improved upon from Zero Dawn was, and of particular note were the outstanding facial animations, stunning voice work, and the vast, sweeping soundscape of an incredible OST. The game ran beautifully, and it pissed me off that Forbidden West was given shit for the pop-in and small technical issues, of which I personally had none, but Elden Ring's technical faults were completely hand-waved. I love Aloy, I love this world, and I love the fact that the game really had no illusions about what it was. It was a fun, trailblazing adventure through a stunningly realised world that invited you in and bombarded you with lovable characters and robot dinosaurs. When the only major problem I had was that Aloy wouldn't shut the hell up with the hand-holding bollocks, it was a no-brainer that this should be my favourite release. The game gave me exactly what I wanted, and that's all that I personally can really ask for. I just want to talk off script for a minute about the way that things have been going recently. I know I've made very few videos this year. There was quite a lengthy gap between Song of Horror and the video that came before it. And the honest truth is that I just haven't felt like making anything. The way that the energy crisis and the cost of living in the UK in general is going at the minute, it's getting more and more difficult to find it in me to enjoy making videos, which is frustrating because I do like making videos. And I enjoy interacting with you guys on Twitter and on YouTube. But I've come up with a temporary solution of sorts that might help me improve my creative process and get some more videos out there and maybe box off some videos that I've been meaning to do for a long time. Things like Soma and Amnesia Rebirth, things like that. Maybe some older classic games as well. I've had a bit of an issue as well with one of my hard drives failing, which has meant that I've lost about 5 terabytes of data, most of which, to be fair, was just recordings of older video games, but it means that I have to start again, play older video games, maybe some that I didn't want to play again, just to get the footage for them, to be able to talk about them, so that's going to be a bit of a ball ache, but I do have something in place now so that I can try and maybe get some more videos out for you guys and try and actually be consistent with uploads. But either way, thank you very much for the support over the last 6 years. It'll be 6 years at the end of January. So my first video was the Resident Evil 7 review. So, 6 years at the end of January, I'll have been doing this for. On and off, granted, but, you know, I enjoy making videos, as I say. And I'm hoping maybe that 2023 will be a little better in that regard. It's currently 10 to 2 on the 1st of January. This video will probably take a few days to come out anyway, but I wish everyone a happy new year. I hope you all had a lovely Christmas or holiday period or whatever you celebrate or not celebrate. And hopefully you'll stick by me. A little bit of patience, a little bit more time while I try and settle into some kind of routine and get some more content out there for you guys to enjoy. So, thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.